Hi folks, welcome to week 10. We're going to move from talking about specific facets of identity to talking about the systems and institutions of our society and how those facets of identity interact with the systems and institutions. We've touched on some of these issues already. Most of the inequality in the US is not due to negative interpersonal interactions, but in our systems and institutions that were designed to work better for some people and create barriers for others. So what exactly are social institutions? By definition, they're established societal patterns of behavior organized around particular purposes. Generally, this means a group of people that has formed a specific goal and has a set of rules and norms that exist regardless of which people are involved. They exist as themselves, separate from individuals. All that is a complicated way of precisely explaining social institutions, but they're really common things we've known about all our lives. Anytime a group of people get together because of a common interest and set up some rules for how things work, they've created a social institution. Families are social institutions, as are schools, companies, religious organizations, sports teams, and campaigns. The key is that it needs to have rules for how the group acts, so that it will exist even when the people who made the rules leave. So a weekly game night wouldn't be a social institution, but if you created a board game club with a president and members and rules, that would be a social institution. Pause here for a moment and think about all the social institutions you might belong to. It's probably more than you think. This week, we're focusing on how identities relate to employment, the workplace, and the economy. When looking for employment, how do identities factor into who is interviewed or hired? What biases might employers and interviewers bring when they decide who is capable of doing a job and who might be a good fit? What barriers might exist that might keep people from knowing that a job opening even exists? Once you've secured employment, how does one's intersections of identity affect how one fits into the workplace culture? How do you get a promotion or otherwise advance your career? Who makes those decisions? Finally, how does identity factor in when it comes to keeping your job? The pandemic has given us an interesting lens to view this. What sorts of positions are able to keep from working from home? What positions have suddenly become essential? And what positions have been eliminated? Which types of workers are affected in each case? Our identities also factor in when we're talking about interactions in retail spaces. They determine where we're most likely to shop and feel comfortable doing so. When we think about retail spaces, how are they set up to make different types of people comfortable? How are customers who do not fit the targeted profile made to feel uncomfortable? Most often, the more expensive a store is, the more likely they are to make people with marginalized identities feel out of place and unwelcome. How does this influence who gets hired to work at those places? Who is most likely to be visible? Who is most likely to be in charge? The labor market has undergone profound changes over the last few decades. Increased globalization and better logistics mean that parts can be sourced from anywhere in the world, meaning that a lot of the work that requires manufacturing has been outsourced to economically disadvantaged nations. Meanwhile, wealthier nations have moved from a solid base of manufacturing jobs to primarily being a service economy. New jobs are mostly created in knowledge work, retail, and food service. Finally, we've had a significant change in what technology is capable of, allowing machines to take on some of the work and allowing other work to be done by fewer people. Many jobs have disappeared, while others have gone from being skilled work to lower paying unskilled work. What sorts of people are most likely to be hit by those changes? We're now going to watch a video on unconscious bias in the workplace, then move on to discussing how various facets of identity show up at work.